Assalamualaikum, my name is Muhammad Haziq Firdaus bin Mafiz, and today I will present to you the introduction of gasification. There are a number of other new and emerging technologies that are able to produce energy from waste and other fuels without direct combustion, such as gasification. The gasification have the potential to produce more electric power from the same amount of fuel that would be possible by direct combustion. Besides that, the gasification process is a technological process that can convert any carbon-based raw material such as coal into fuel gas, also known as synthesis gas or syngas for short. Other than that, the gasification process occurs in a gasifier and operates at a very high temperature, of which power can be derived from the combustion and is considered to be a source of renewable energy. The gasification process has been known and used for centuries and for coal as early as the 18th century. The development technologies for processing residual solid mixed waste has only become a focus of attention in recent years, stimulated by the search for more efficient energy recovery. The gasification process has a lot of advantages, such as the process is cheaper and more efficient than the steam cycle used in incineration. However, environmental advocates have called gasification incineration in disguise and argue that the technology is still dangerous to air quality and public health. Several waste gasification processes have been proposed, but few have yet been built and tested, and only a handful have been implemented as plants processing real waste, and most of the time in combination with fossil fuels.
How does this gasification work? This figure introduces all the potential pathways to convert municipal solid waste or biomass into different energy forms using thermal, mechanical, and biological processes. Combustion, gasification, and pyrolysis are thermal energy conversion processes available for the thermal treatment of solid waste. As we can see for the pathway of the gasification, it includes the thermochemical conversion processes of waste that contain carbonaceous materials into gaseous product at high temperatures with the aid of gasification agent. The gasification agent, or another gaseous compound such as oxygen and water that being introduced as steam, will allow the feedstock to be quickly converted into gas, which is called the synthetic gas, syngas, or the producer gas. And it mainly contains hydrogen, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and methane. So this syngas can be very useful in many applications, especially in the power generation, where in the same time has a significant obligations for chemistry and biochemistry application. So before going into the gasification, let's understand the step of the process for the gasification. The first step taken is the drying process of the waste, where in this stage, the moisture and steam from the feedstock are removed by the porous solid phase. The next step is the devolatilization step, where in this step, the stage determines the thermocracking reactions and operations of heat and mass, including light permanent gases, tar, and char. So now, let's understand the gasification process. The view of mechanism, gasification occurs in a closed vessel as compared to combustion. Oxygen and water, which present as steam, added into the vessel. Oxygen chemically reacts with the carbon and the coals become carbon monoxide. The hydrogen atoms and coals become hydrogen gas molecules. The water also provides oxygen to chemically react with carbon, leaving the hydrogen behind. This chemical reaction gives off heat, but less than the coals were completely burned.
Hello, my name is Muhammad Reza bin Manaf. Now I will be presenting on the advantages and disadvantages on gasification. Gasification has several advantages on solid waste treatment. It can be categorized into three parts. Environment and economically, produce some possession fuels and electricity, and gasification also a renewable technology. Economically, this process takes place in low oxygen environment, which resulting in higher energy recovery and limits the formation of pollutants such as NOx and SOx. Gasification is not only beneficial to the environment, but also economically advantageous. The gasification allows the usage of waste product as feedstock, and it can be utilized to turn lower price feedstocks such as pet coke and coal into valuable product. like electricity, fuels, and fertilizers. Moreover, the operating costs of gasification power plants are lower than conventional coal-fired plants and require less pollution control equipment. Next, gasification can produce transportation fuel and electricity. This process can be used to produce transportation fuel. Furthermore, 1 ton of solid waste can produce up to 1000 kilowatt of electricity by gasification. This process offers the cleanest and most efficient means of producing electricity from coal and the lowest cost option for capturing carbon dioxide from power generation. Lastly, gasification is as a reliable technology. The implementation of gasification process has the opportunity to conserve resource and limit hazardous emissions. The disadvantages of gasification. This process has limited feedstock variability, and during gasification process, stars, heavy metals, halogens, and alkali compounds are released within the product gas and can cause environment and operation problems. This can result in the agglomeration in the gasification vessels, which can lead to clogging of fluidized beds and increase the tar formation.
Assalamualaikum, I'm Ahmad Shamil bin Muhammad Zain, and today I'm going to present about the process comparison of the pyrolysis, gasification and combustion. For the first one is the similarities of the processes, and the first similarities is all of the processes is a thermochemical reaction in which can convert the biomass into energy, and the second one is the biomass will be heated into evaporated water and will result in a pyrolysis process to occur and produce volatiles. The next one is the difference between the process condition, and for the pyrolysis, it occurs in the absence of oxygen, and usually the MSW is heated and converted into gases by oil and char, and the operating temperature for the process is 350 to 600 Celsius. And for the gasification, it occurs in the insufficient of oxygen, and the MSW will be broken down into combustible gases, tar and ashes. And the operating temperature for the gasification and combustion is the same, in which is 800 and 1200 Celsius. And for the combustion process, it occurs with the sufficient of oxygen. Next is the difference of the usage of the processes, and the first one is the pyrolysis. The bio-oils that generated is usually used as a source of fuel in the combustion process, and the technology has been used in the pyrolysis can be considered as a new and not widely used technology. And the next one is the gasification process, in which it generates a heat and it will be used and will be converted into the electrical energy. And for the technology, it can be considered as a mature and still in a development technology. And lastly is the combustion process, in which the heat produced can be utilized for industrial processes, and it is a well-established and widespread technologies. Last but not least is the end product of the process, in which the pyrolysis will generate heat pyrolysis liquid and gases such as oil and char. Meanwhile, for the gasification, it will generate heat and primary gaseous fuel such as carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and the other gases such as methane. And for the last one is the combustion, in which it will generate heat and combustible gases such as carbon dioxide and water.
I will now talk more or less about the implementation of gasification in municipal solid waste. There are many things that can be produced by applied to this method, such as it can produce electricity or even biofuel products such as diesel. For an example of implementation gasification, a company called Serra Energy, they produce their own diesel that will be used in a railroad company as it is a parent company. The CEO thought by making their own fuel, this will save budget on buying diesel fuel from the other company. The other products that the company produce are electricity, hydrogen gases, and also ammonia. 10% of material can be converted into gases, so the product turn into stone and be used in construction material. Also, another example, a company called Enerkim based in Montreal, Canada, developed the world's first commercial waste-to-biofuel facility. The company currently focusing on turning all those trashes into ethanol biofuel and chemical methanol. another company called Klein Industry that use gasification method. They focusing on generating electricity from the syngas that they got from the fluidized bed gasifier. The electricity can produce over 36 megawatts of power. From gasification also they can produce fly ash that later on can be used in construction material as an aggregate substitute. The flue gas also can be recycled into construction materials such as concrete products from the bag filter or electrostatic precipitator.